welcome back to Another Dimension. I'm Quinn.
I'm Trask.
Taylor.
Hey, Taylor.
Hey, Taylor.
An eventful week in trucking, huh?
I guess. Apparently down in Georgia.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Started out.
In Savannah,
Georgia.
Is there another Savannah?
I'm sure there is.
There has to be.
There's a Havana. That's in Cuba. But in Savannah, a truck driver basically lost his mind, went to the town hall in Savannah, parked his semi on the sidewalk, which reminds me, I almost got parked into a building one time.
Yeah.
Stripped naked, started dancing on the city hall's steps,
courtyard? Okay.
courtyard, went on a rant up and down the road, and then got in his truck and drove away.
And does anybody know why he did this?
So the article says he was mad about something to do with his ex-wife, or a big or in the article.
And
Was it and or?
I'm
Something like that.
And.
Someone who works at the city or the town hall, or a combination of the both. But also, he was going to the city hall to get his child support squared away, so they didn't revoke his CDL. Well, after this guy took off, they caught him like 100 miles away in this semi under the influence of drugs, still naked.
Of course.
And where was I going with this? Oh, they cited him with a terrorist act, DUI, driving without a valid license, impeding traffic,
And parking on a sidewalk
and
or something.
parking on a sidewalk.
Wow.
Have you ever had a day that bad where you're like, hey, I'm going to hop in my truck, get naked, and just tell the
Just
world
ride.
what's going on?
Just ride. No. I'm glad you got the memo on the blue shirt today, too.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, thanks.
Mine's not a shirt, though. It's a pullover.
Sounds like a fun guy.
On that note, you want to get back into, like, we talked about the fuel shortage.
Yeah, and I don't feel like we gave it enough justice.
We weren't informed.
No.
We didn't do our research. And
What did you guys kind of recap on real quick? What did you guys talk about last time?
There was a fuel shortage.
That
diesel fuel shortage, mainly up in the
East Coast.
East Coast, Northeast.
Yep. There was a lot of people that reached out on the YouTube page about it, and Facebook, not so much this week, but put in their 2 cents. So thank you for doing that. Obviously, continue to like and share and comment. We love that.
We brought it up, but we didn't really know why.
We didn't know all the details.
Yeah. So now,
We were ill-informed.
uninformed. So now we are a little more informed. So you want to explain a little bit what's going on?
Sure. I mean, there's a couple things from what I've read, and it's, winter's coming. Like we talked about last week, more people are needing fuel. We are exporting fuel when we don't technically have enough.
I mean, winter months, you
People
utilize
consume
more fuel.
Yep.
Fuel because your home heating costs, your trucking, your shipping.
Supply chain shortages and other
People are
things. that
traveling to warmer
people are
climates.
traveling. But the main thing that we kind of read was the Jones Act.
Yeah. Well,
You could take it further.
Well, there's kind of a perfect storm going, right?
Yep.
So we could let's talk about what the Jones Act is. So last week I said, hey, well, isn't it there pipelines or anything to bring fuel to the upper east
Coast.
Yeah, the region U.S. And the answer is no, there's not. So what the Jones Act is, it was from the 20s?
20s. Written into law in 17, but written into something in 17, but passed in the 20s.
Okay. And what it did is, or what it states, is that if you're going to move freight from one U.S. port to another U.S. port, so let's just use Houston to Baltimore. Yep. That has to be on an interstate.
That's considered
ship.
an interstate.
It's considered interstate move versus international. And the Jones Act states that that type of move has to be on a U.S. made, owned, and operated cargo ship.
At least 75%.
Mm-hmm.
It also states that ship needs to be flying an American flag.
Right. And there's only about 55 of those in the U.S.
55 to 100 is what I read. And there used to be, in 1946, at the height of it, when this was all going down, there was 2,300.
Okay. So what does that mean? That means those 55 to 100 Jones Act ships, the Jones Act fleet, they actually call it, can set their price, right?
Yep.
Nobody else can do it.
Yep.
So we have ships coming over from China and Japan and all that stuff. They can't pick up a load of freight in Houston and take it to Baltimore. It's against the law.
Yep.
And
one of the examples I saw was they can't pick up a shipping container from the port of L.A. and bring it back to Shanghai with a stop in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And what that does in the shipping container world is the shipment to ship a container from L.A., and these might be old numbers, I don't know the numbers, but from L.A. to Shanghai was $790 or $800. To ship that same shipping container from L.A. to Hawaii, take a guess. $8,700.
10 times, 11 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of old news. You said it was kind of like a mob mentality to protect us, and
I think it was done at the time with the U.S.'s best interest in
Yep.
mind. But now if...
times have changed and the world is way different.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 102 years ago.
Now, they can't just open... I mean, I wouldn't think they would just open our domestic shipping up to foreign companies. Like, that wouldn't make sense. We have to kind of protect the U.S., I would think.
Yeah.
But...
in a time like this, there should be something that they can do, whether that be to put a pause on the act or a referendum. Is that the right?
They said that they can sign a waiver. If it was a national defense issue, they would sign a waiver. And otherwise, it's a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
So
I would think this would probably warrant a case-by-case review.
Yeah. The diesel supply or the fuel supply, right? We're not just talking about diesel.
Fuel
supply right now is at about 25 days, I think.
If the world stops, we would run out. The whole world, all economy stops. The U.S. has enough fuel on hand to get through 25 days.
Right. Adding to that pressure is the drought for that the central U.S. has had, and the Mississippi River has been drying up.
Yeah. So that's a whole nother part of the storm.
Mm-hmm.
Boats aren't going, which is causing more trucks to be going down the road.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, right now it's harvest time, so
Yep.
central U.S. is corn and soybeans are on the barges, right?
Yep.
They can't load as much on a barge because the water's not deep enough.
And they'll hit the ground,
Yep, they'll bottom out, and
which is causing more ships to go down.
they can't put as many barges together because the water's just not as wide as it used to be.
Yep.
So now, on top of that, all these grain storage facilities are at capacity with no place for the farmers to take their harvest.
So what does that do?
Well, what that's doing is it's driving the price of shipping that grain up. And
So are they hitting what we hit from a trucking standpoint a year ago? Right now?
maybe they've got a ton of capacity ton of volume and not enough capacity.
Is it just kind of maybe a trickle effect?
Could be.
I don't know.
But it's costing more to ship that grain, and they're moving less with probably the same amount of fuel. So they're using more fuel to do that, right?
Correct.
And to offset that, they're trying to put more stuff on rail. Well, there's
Rails-
a third leg of the storm, right?
Rail strike.
There's a potential rail strike. So
And I don't know anything about that. So
No, but if the rail shuts down or they go on strike, then what do? Everything goes to trucks, right?
if it can't go to barges or planes,
And that's going to take more fuel.
correct.
So that's why they're I think they might be blowing this a little bit out of proportion, but that's what this fuel crisis is stemming from.
It was Mansfield Energy that initially, they're out of the East Coast somewhere, I don't remember, but they were the ones that initially stated that there was a fuel shortage. And then I think Tucker Carlson tweeted out, I think I saw, the U.S. is going to be out of diesel in like 25 days, and
So
at
he
that
created a
point,
panic?
it just blew up.
Yeah.
Where if people were to stop and think, I don't think the U.S. or any country is that naive to allow something like that to happen. I think they would come up with a plan, or hey, let's work together and make this happen.
I think a lot of domestic refineries slowed or either shut down or slowed production during COVID.
Yep.
People weren't traveling; they weren't using as much fuel.
No need to produce as much.
Right.
And now they're trying to find help and get
And
that
catch
revamped.
back up.
But to go back to a point of the Jones Act, what you were saying is like that same shipment from Houston. Sorry to jump around, but
You're fine.
Houston to Baltimore. There's only a limited number of ships. Say that's 55. Let's say it's 100, whatever that may be. The guy with the biggest checkbook is going to get the boat.
Absolutely.
They may have some contracts that they keep some people happy with, but the guy with the biggest checkbook is going to get the boat. So is that the guy importing chips to Miami for a text? I don't know what that all entails, but hey, maybe there's a chip manufacturer in Houston that is supplying a bunch of cars that are being made in Florida or something along those lines. But what that does is it makes it cheaper for the United States. This is backwards to me. It makes it cheaper for the United States to buy fuel from India, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and ship it over to the East Coast than it does to run fuel from Houston to the Port of Baltimore.
Because the Jones Act created limited capacity.
How does that make sense?
Yeah. It's the harsh reality of what we're in, though.
Yeah. All of those bills, because there's hundreds of those things going on, and not everyone knows everything about them. But imagine how much that limits everything.
Mm-hmm. The other issue, along with this Jones Act thing, is the shipyards, the U.S. shipyards. 90% of them make defense ships, naval ships, for the government.
Okay.
So only 10% are, producing maybe freighters or bulk carriers, and most of the bulk carriers and stuff are created in
Japan
and China, I think.
Yeah, and I think there was one more, Taiwan or something like that.
Maybe. So they would not fall in the Jones Act because they're not made here.
Yeah. So only 10% of the ships that we are making as a country
would qualify for the Jones Act, but those 10% may not even be freighters.
Yeah, they could be
Coast Guard ships? I don't know
cruise
that.
ship. I
Maybe.
don't know. I don't know where those are made, but
Yep.
that's nuts.
Yeah.
You would think that they would do something to address that.
Well, I'm guessing the government has deep pockets, so that's where and if we need defense,
Yeah. And I'm sure, like, hey, do this and you get a huge tax write-off or whatever the heck that may be.
So I hope that kind of answered the fuel crisis.
We probably still didn't dive into the whole issue. I mean, this could be a full-on topic for months to come.
Yeah, and next week we may be able to say, hey, it was created by Tucker Carlson's tweet, and
Hopefully that's
life
the
is
case.
good.
Yeah. But fuel prices are going up. We can't deny that.
Yeah. Average this week was $5.31, I just read.
And they expected it to go up another 15 to 20 cents by the end of November.
That's crazy.
Then come December, it's going to go up even more.
Great.
That's nuts. Did you ever think you'd see $5, $6 fuel?
People 30 years ago probably didn't think they'd see $2 fuel.
People 30 years ago probably didn't think they'd see the internet either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts. I mean, if you think about it, like how much the world changed. 30 years. Now do that 100 years. Come on, something's got to be reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
Random question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what road pizza is?
Road pizza?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess it's roadkill.
It is. Darn it.
Okay.
But
Do you know what paying the water bill is?
taking a leak?
Taking a leak. Yes. Who's our winner from last week?
Joe B. I don't know. Do you
Joe
know?
B.
There's
No.
probably a lot of Joe B's, but let me specify. Joe B, our new YouTube subscriber, because you can't just be a random Joe B and reach out to us.
Taylor, can you elaborate a little bit?
Well, Joe, like he said, Joe B, That's all that's what we know of his name. That's his YouTube name. He subscribed and commented on a few different videos. So we're switching it up this week, and rather taking somebody from Facebook, we're picking a YouTube subscriber.
Awesome.
So thank you, Joe.
Yeah, continue to like and share, pose any questions. We'll try to answer them. That goes for anyone.
Taylor, you're going to reach out to him and get his information?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Will do.
Okay.
In other news, did you hear about the truck in Laredo? Driving, it was a Mexico to United States shipment. Got pulled over at the World Trade Bridge in Laredo. Got flagged for a secondary inspection. K9 units discovered 600 and some odd pounds of methamphetamine.
Really?
Impounded.
Yep.
Impounded the
You got it.
vehicle?
The vehicle, the truck, the trailer, driver got arrested, and they're trying to find out the
Where it
source
came
of,
from?
which has got to be Cartel.
What was
I
the
would
street
think.
value of that? Do you
$6
know?
million bucks.
$6 million bucks in one truck.
Yeah.
You said 600 pounds.
No, 600 and some odd pounds.
So do you know how they ship it? I heard this on a podcast.
I don't.
From a guy that
Never
got
bought
released
meth.
from jail that worked for the cartel. So that means they busted the biggest shipment out of that fleet. So they always do fleets in multiples.
How do you know that's the biggest?
He said because it's always more than half. So he said what they'll do out of 1,000, they ship 1,000 pounds at a time. So that 600, there was probably 3 other trucks that had 100 each, get to about 900, and then there were probably 4 more trucks with 25 each. And the cartel has done the math to know that so many of those can get busted, and they'll still make a profit.
But how do you know that it was the biggest one? What if that 600 was a third of?
Maybe that was the smallest?
Yeah.
I heard on this podcast that like they do like by the 1,000 pounds. So like they'll throw 1,000 pounds at it in one day. They'll try to get 1,000 pounds across the border. 600 in one, 100 in a few more, and then 25 and like 4 or 5 more of that. And they know that based on whatever gets busted, the rest will make up for the profit.
That whole border crisis is a different topic that we can go down, but I do not understand. I don't get it. Because $6 million off of the street, great, awesome.
That's one.
That's
right.
Yeah, and that's
nothing.
just a minor thing. I mean, there was that guy in Colorado that got busted. They let him get back in his truck or whatever, and then they took off and they couldn't find him or something like that. What was that?
He escaped from prison.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Not to mention the 2 guys
He was arrested in Colorado on his way to, I think, from California to Indiana.
Yeah.
And they made a deal that they would follow him,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
To Indiana to get
The bigger guy.
Yes. And they allowed him to drive or something. I'm assuming they had tracking on him. I don't know. But somehow he got away.
Yeah.
And you know what?
It just sounds like a horrible. That's a horrible idea.
But like, good for him. Like, way to get cagey, right? Like, hey, I got caught once. They're not going to catch me twice.
That's a horrible idea.
Right. Yes. In the grand scheme of things, it probably made sense. Hey, I can catch the guy that's going to buy this, who's probably going to be selling it to hundreds of more people. But
Sure.
Nothing like taking the word from a guy who, from a guy who's you just busted.
Yeah.
Oh, he'll keep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I promise.
Just follow me.
Yeah, this is an upstanding citizen. Like
He's right down the road.
This is a really good guy. But I also read on the news 2 people in Kentucky. There is this rehab facility in Kentucky. And it's like a huge crime problem for the town that it's in. And forgive me, I don't remember what city that was. But 2 people snuck out of this rehab facility. There was a trucker this was this week. There was a trucker at a truck stop in the shower. They hopped in his semi. They stole the semi. They found him like 3 hours later, or they found the semi 3 hours later, parked at a Dollar General, where the people got out of the truck, walked inside, used the phone, and had family members come pick them up. Abandoned the truck. Like, the meth, the southern border, that stuff is a huge problem. This is not the point of this podcast. I'm sorry, but
going.
if you're looking for that kind of stuff, go listen to Psychoactive. That's a good podcast. I listen to it. But
Shout out.
anyway, but why would hey, I'm going to pay you $50,000 to try to bring 600 pounds of meth across the border. You potentially are going to prison for life.
Well,
What possesses someone to do that?
Well, I'm sure they have their family, right? There's a flip side to that.
Yeah.
What's the line? Did you guys watch Narcos at all on Netflix?
Yeah, I did.
The cartels go to all the people and they say, "Do you want silver or lead?" Meaning, you want to work for us or do you want to die?
Really?
Yep.
That's crazy.
That's how it goes. And if they go to jail, they're protected.
Hopefully.
The whole cartel's in there.
Yeah.
That's what they tell them. Hey, man, if you get busted, you're good. You're good. We'll take care of you.
It's just not my...
It's the lifestyle.
No.
Unfortunately.
Not...
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not in that position, and I feel bad for the people that are. I really do.
I agree with that. They could be saying the same thing about us. I feel bad for those guys that don't have protection and money. I don't know.
Yeah.
Every culture and everything's different, but that is sad, sickening. On a different note, John wanted to give us a little, not necessarily a maintenance tip, but an
old school trucker tip.
Yeah.
Because John's old.
Be nice. John carries this in his truck, and it's just it's a boot warmer, it's a glove warmer. You can carry it year round, and if your boots or shoes get wet, gloves get wet, you can dry them out. John uses it particularly in the winter. Warms up his gloves. Maybe you're working, go through this pair of gloves and you're cold, switch them out for a warm pair.
Fingers don't get cold.
Yeah. Just kind of a nice little tip that some people might not, have thought of.
The southern truckers in Laredo probably aren't worrying about a glove warmer.
This one's especially for Adrian.
Yeah,
Adrian.
That's an Adrian.
Here's an Adrian tip.
Yep.
Adrian, make sure you watch this. We'll get him one for Christmas.
We should.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just little things like that. If you guys have any little tips like that, let us know.
Yeah.
I remember my grandma saying, "Hey, in your winter boots, put on bread bags over your feet." Like at the time, I was like, "That's dumb." I was a kid, but feet get soaked, but that way your feet don't get wet.
Yep.
So
smart,
and they slide in and out better.
Yeah, I suppose.
Right. So, got anything else? I mean,
no, I kind of feel like we were
kind
on a
of
roll
jumped
there.
all around. You want to do? Taylor, you got anything for us?
I do. I have a random story to end it on a more positive note. I'm going to come in with kind of a random one every now and then. It's not quite like my Grizzly story. But they announced today, Donald Driver partnered with Cousin Subs, and now he is the co-owner of all the Cousins in Green Bay, Appleton, and Neenah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Cousin Sub, that's a Wisconsin-based company, right?
It's the first time they've ever like kind of branched outside the company to like bring somebody in, but they
probably needed to.
I don't know. They just said that they've always had a good relationship with Donald, and he wanted to do something to get reacclimated with the community. So
where did he move to?
He's local for
Is he?
a certain time. I'm pretty sure he's local in Green Bay for a certain time of the year, comes and goes. But he wants to spend more time around here. So he is now the co-owner of Neenah, Appleton, and Green Bay Cousin Subs.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good guy too. I mean
He's got a really cool story if anybody wants to look that up.
Yeah, wasn't he like homeless? Yeah, I remember reading that.
Gives a lot back.
U-Haul
Yeah, he does.
truck.
Yeah.
Lived in a U-Haul.
Does he still do the Donald
Softball?
Driver softball? Who is it now?
It is Jordy.
Jordy Nelson.
Jordy does it
Who's
now.
also one of the best Packers of all time.
Getting inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I just saw that. Pretty awesome.
Damn right.
But
That's enough about the Packers.
yeah, they're not good.
Until
The
something
one,
changes.
they are not good. I'm not even going down the route.
I don't have anything else. Thanks again for listening.
Yeah.
We'll always take recommendations and topics. We're not going to hurt our feelings if
And if you do, we'll probably give you a snarky remark back.
we'll just cut it out. Yeah. But if you have stuff you want to talk about or want us to talk about, please let us know.
Did I tell my antihistamine joke yet?
Yes.
Oh, darn.
Yes. You can tell it again.
No, that's fine. I don't need to do it. We did have a vocab word submitted from a listener.
Okay.
Tupperware container.
Tupperware container.
That just came in live, actually.
This is KVG.
It is KVG. His first truck
Was a Tupperware container.
Was a Tupperware container.
Goes back to something we talked about on one of the podcasts where they're all Tupperware containers. But anyways, it's a plastic truck, right? So
yeah, I guess now they all are.
Except
for 5011. There's no plastic on that thing.
Aluminum cab, fiberglass hood. I don't know, but
a plastic truck.
It's a
not
Tupperware
a hood
container.
Not a hood.
Yeah, it's a slang term.
You got any other slang terms?
I can look up there. You know what a seat cover is?
Yeah.
What?
Put one on your seat and keep it clean?
No.
What?
Seat cover is usually a pretty girl sitting in the passenger seat.
Wow.
There you go.
I did not expect that. What does reading the mail mean?
Reading the mail is when you're driving down the road, whatever, sitting in your truck, listening to the CB and not saying anything back. Just listening.
Just listening?
Reading the mail, yep.
Why don't they call that listening to the mail?
Because they don't want to. Truckers are stubborn.
Let me know the next time you get a piece of mail that you listen to.
Yeah.
That's probably why.
Yeah. And they don't, a lot of those guys don't get mail on the road.
Yeah, how would they?
Email. now it's email.
Oh, how the world has changed. You used to be able to write people letters.
Oh,
you get pissed off at someone.
I wrote a letter once.
To who?
I don't know. Definitely not about Aaron Rodgers and being a great backup.
No. He should be a backup.
Anyway, we're going down a rabbit hole here.
We are.
Let's wrap this up.
Yep.
Thanks again for listening.
Continue to like and share, subscribe, submit ideas, like, comment, write us a letter if you want.
That would be really cool.
If someone sent a letter.
Yes.
Taylor, include our mailing address in there. We'll send you a signed autograph.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you for tuning in to episode 24. One away from 1/4 We're almost there. Again, thank you for everybody for watching, liking, sharing, subscribing. The channel's growing, and we couldn't be happier about that. We're really excited. Joe, I will make sure to reach out to your YouTube channel to get your information from you in regards to getting you some prizes. I think that's about it, guys. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will be back here next week. Have a good one.